You're listening to the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast. Just a quick heads up before we get started with this episode, I wanted to let you know about a free resource for listeners of the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast. That means you. If you are planning your next trip abroad, or if you're just getting back out into the world again, maybe you're going to an event or to a festival or to a meetup, that you need to be prepared for what to say when you meet someone for the first time. Download our free Spanish conversation guide so that you'll be prepared to have a conversation with anyone that you meet for the first time in Spanish. We give you a list of the most common questions that you'll be asked and that you may want to ask someone when you meet them for the first time, along with the responses so that you can be prepared when you have that conversation in less than 30 minutes. So to get your free conversation guide, just go to SpanishConversationGuide.com. Simple, right? SpanishConversationGuide.com to download your quick guide to prep for your first Spanish conversation. What type of language learner are you? Are you someone who likes to travel, who just loves learning languages for the sake of learning languages, or maybe you want to relocate to a Spanish-speaking country? Well, whatever your motivation for learning Spanish, the type of language learner you are will greatly influence how quickly and how efficiently you reach Spanish fluency. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you listen to the whole thing because at the end, I'll be giving you some tips for how you can use your language learning style to help you improve and accelerate your path to Spanish fluency. Así que vamos a empezar. Let's get started.
Bienvenidos! Welcome to the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast, the show for Spanish learners that love music, travel, and culture. Close your grammar textbooks, shut down the language apps, and open your ears to how Spanish is spoken in the real world. Let us show you how to go from beginner to bilingual. Here is your host, certified language coach, Tamara Marie.
Bienvenidos al episodio 134. Welcome to episode 134 of the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast. In this episode, I will be breaking down how you can really figure out what is your language learning type. Now, I know there's a lot of quizzes out there online that help you figure out, are you level A1 or A2, grammar quizzes, quizzes to help you learn Spanish verbs. I mean, there's a lot out there online. But something that's often overlooked, which I think is actually critically important for you understanding yourself as a language learner, is really delving into what your language learning style or type is. And if you've never heard that before, no worries. Like I said, I will be breaking that down in this episode. And I will be giving you some advice on how you can use that knowledge of what your type is to your advantage to really help you get fluent in Spanish that much faster. So first, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the types, and then I'm going to go a little bit more in depth into each one and give you some advice for what to do if this is your style. Now, as I'm going through these, you might recognize yourself in one or more of these, but really try to think about the one that resonates with you the most as I go through. So you might, hear it and go, okay, you know what? I think maybe I do a little bit of this, and maybe I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, but not all the time. That's completely fine. You're human. So it's funny, usually when we come out with these types of categories, we all try to look for where we belong in that box, right? But none of us are going to 100% fit in one category all the time. But what's important to think about is where you are most of the time. So, when you approach learning Spanish or any other language, where do you tend to default to, or what's your first approach? So that's what I want you to keep in mind as I go through these, all right? So the 4 language learning types are the dabbler, the nomad, the perfectionist, and the loner. And now none of these types are inherently good or inherently bad, but I do want to go through sort of what might be driving you if this is your type, and what are some of the benefits and even downfalls of fitting into one of these categories. And again, how you can use that to your advantage, your natural sort of learning style to help you move forward that much faster. So let's talk about the dabbler first. The dabbler is that language learner that does a little bit of everything. And the dabbler, is not generally very focused on just one thing. So you won't find the dabbler only taking one Spanish course at a college, for example. They probably have varied interest, and not just when it comes to language, but in other areas of their life as well. So this is the person that every time you talk to them, they're doing something different. They're into a new project. They're probably a very creative person. And the downfall of that is they're easily distracted. So because the dabblers tend to be creative types, they tend to sort of go with their passions and with their interest, and they may not be super focused on meeting one particular goal, which means they tend to make progress a little bit slower, just because they're not really overly concerned with tracking progress. So it's hard to track what you don't measure, right? It's hard to know if you're successful if you're not taking any sort of metrics, and that's really common of the dabblers. And how to know if you're a dabbler? Well, you probably have tons of apps on your phone that are all related to Spanish. And like I said, you probably have also looked into learning other languages as well if you have other interests. You probably also do not have a goal, right? You would be the person if I say, what's your current goal for Spanish? Where are you at right now? Are you a beginner? Are you intermediate? A dabbler would probably go, well, I don't know. I'm definitely not a beginner. I don't know. I think I'm still a beginner because I don't know. I did Duolingo for a little bit, and then I started to do this app, and I went to this place one time and I was able to have a conversation with this guy in Spanish, but then I didn't understand what he was saying, right? This is kind of how a dabbler might answer. Not very clear, not very to the point, very exploratory, which is absolutely fine. Like I said, the dabbler's superpower is sort of that creativity and curiosity, because they're always interested in what's new, what's the most effective thing, what's the newest thing out there. So again, it's not all bad to not be focused. The superpower that the dabbler brings to the table is that flexibility of being able to learn in different ways and explore different ways of learning the language. So the dabbler, again, has probably tried different modalities, probably has tried courses, online things, in-person events, books, maybe a little bit of everything, because that's the nature of the dabbler, okay? But you can use this to your advantage if this is you. You want to really try to focus in on the things that you're passionate about and really follow your interests. Okay, the dabbler really believes at their core that things have to be fun and interesting, that creative expression is important.